Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome to another week, another episode of the Medicine Ball Podcast. You could have chosen to spend your time anywhere. You rock with me today. Thank you. I never take that lightly. Before we get into it, let my beat drop. Yes, that's right. Welcome to Medicine Ball with your boy LS3 to be exact. And if you ain't in shape, at least your brain should be. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Medicine Ball Podcast, where we focus on giving your brain a six-pack by exercising your mind. Now, exercising your mind means that you actively think about and deal with all situations by first seeking to do anything other than what you are normally programmed and or comfortable in doing. Now, if you're someone who struggles and wants to get better at thinking about things beforehand, as opposed to reacting in ways that require less effort, well, just like anything you want to get better at, it does require training, practice, and work. Now, I'm well aware that thinking about things beforehand as opposed to responding off instinct does require effort. And who doesn't prefer things that are easy? Well, the first step, my friends, can be very easy, and that's to begin to look at all things from an unbiased point of view, which in itself will increase your curiosity in life. Now, exercising your mind won't give you all the answers. You will, however, begin to look at things with more peace, understanding, and patience, while simultaneously equipping yourself with more tools and strategies to help you effectively deal with this thing called life. Now, before we go any further, I'm no doctor, no psychiatrist, no psychologist. I have, however, been diagnosed with bipolar disorder level 1 for 16 years. And to be honest, I got to a point in my life where I was looking at the person I was becoming versus the person I wanted to be. And that, among other things, required me to look at my mental health responsibly. So whether or not you're diagnosed or know someone who's diagnosed or have symptoms or just want to know more about it, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're one of the many people who could just use some tips, tricks, and different ideas to help you get through day-to-day life. Pull up a seat, kick up your feet. This is your family, man. Welcome home, no judgment zone. This week's episode 406, The Road Less Traveled. Let's go down that road. Let's go. Welcome to another week, another episode of the Medicine Ball Podcast. As you guys know, if you've been following along, or whether you haven't, if you're new, due to life and some schedule adjustments and some big things going on, the episodes have been coming out a little bit later, but we getting back on track. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Just want to give y'all a call to action real quick and we'll get into it. Go follow me on all my social media networks. Medicine Ball LS and the number 3. Medicine Ball LS and the number 3. That's also the website, www.medicineballls3.com, as well as the Facebook, the Twitter, the snappity Snapchats and all that good stuff, all right? Y'all go out there and follow me. Good news, I do have a couple of companies that I'm mixing up with to get the merchandise done. It happened pretty quick. They've already begun printing up samples. So hoodies, shirts, all that good stuff, hats, you know what I mean? It's all coming. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. And last but certainly not least, be looking for a big announcement coming up here within the next, I'll say about 2 weeks, man. I'm working with some people. I just want to make sure that they have their stuff together and it's okay before I start name dropping and telling about situations. But I want to put that good energy in the air. Keeps y'all head on the swivel. Also, man, I've been working hard. It has been tedious, but we chopping up some stuff from Mamba and his own Instagram page, his own Instagram content, as well as his own YouTube content, including plenty of stuff that, I just recorded, man. This dude is hilarious every day. So be looking for that to come out with no more waiting. Let's go ahead and get into this week's episode 406, The Road Less Traveled. Yeah. Alrighty. So we've been talking about a lot of good stuff this season, or these episodes rather, with this fourth installment of kind of the medicine ball thing that we're doing. We've been talking about energy this season. We've been talking about reactions. We've been talking about emotional discipline. We've been talking about overall awareness. And I want to just continue down that road. That's a bar. With this episode, The Road Less Traveled. So you guys already know me, man. I got to put my little, I got to put my spiritual spin on it, as always. I find more and more that as I just engross myself in, spiritual growth, spiritual maturity and studying the word, I'm often motivated here by a lot of the parables and stories that and I don't even want to call them stories like they're false, but the events that happen in our history in the Bible. And I want to run to a scripture real quick, Matthew 7:14. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter which version you're using, but this happens to be the New International Version. And the only reason I'm using the NIV version is because I just, when it comes to my devotionals and my Bible app, I just keep the Bible, the Holy Bible itself, continuously going. And each time I go through it, I just try to go through it in a different version so that I find me personally, I'm always learning something new. And the more times I read through it, the more it makes sense. The things that, you kind of might zone out on, such as all the names in the Bible or all the like boundary lines. Once you understand more, you realize, oh, this really, the reason they're doing this because of genealogy. The reason they're doing this is because this land is still here today. But anyway, Matthew 7:14. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. The road less traveled, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we've been talking about energy and reactions and dealing with things in a more righteous way and standing on firm principles and morals that have integrity and righteousness interwoven into them, I thought it was important to address this. Now, I made some comments last week about like what I see when it comes to dating, and these are just my observations, and it actually got quite a bit of buzz more, but I knew it was going to get some buzz, but it got more than I really wanted. And anytime it gets into this ideology of kind of like holding people accountable, right? Because I find like I find the human nature is like we understand things and we will say things just like old sayings, do unto others as they would do unto you. But in our mind, we kind of like adjust them so that it leans in our advantage, right? Like a person, just piggybacking off that, a person might just say, well, I'm nice to people, or I hate this. I give people the same energy that they give me, right? So I thought it was important to address a couple of things, right? And it always comes to this thing of judging. People be like, oh, you don't judge. Or even when I start to get scripture involved, or it might go there, they'll be like, well, you shouldn't judge. God says you shouldn't judge. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm no priest. I didn't go to seminary school or anything like that. But I'm here to tell you, nowhere in the Bible does it say don't judge people. Now, what people might be understanding is like, you shouldn't judge people in a malicious way, but you better judge people. And there's many scriptures and many things that, make this apparent to me. For instance, there's a scripture that says, be as kind as doves, but as shrewd as snakes. Kind as doves, but as shrewd as snakes. Be kind, but if you're dealing with snakes, you better protect yourself. God doesn't say, we could go forever. We could go back into Matthew when, Satan tries to tempt Jesus. And he's like, throw yourself off at the top of this mountain. And, God says he won't allow you to hurt your ankle. Nah, do not tempt the Lord is what Jesus says, right? So let's go into this discretion. Now, me personally, I say this all the time, and I'm going to stand on it. The course of history has shown that us as humans are generally just like bad judges of character, right? Furthermore, when it comes to like judging the difference, and I don't mean judges of character, but we are that as well, but judges of right and wrong. I'm sorry. We're going to get into that on another show. I know I said character. That was subconscious. I got to jot that down, but we're bad judges of right and wrong. There are some Germans who don't think Hitler did anything wrong. There are some Caucasians who think that the KKK isn't wrong. There are some African Americans who think, certain other things aren't wrong. And I don't want to play this race thing and get into it. But my bigger point is, overall, as humans, we're generally bad judges of right and wrong, which on a bigger point is why I always say we need some type of spiritual foundation or something to follow that's bigger than us as humans, because we're bad at that. Now, I want to expound upon that a little bit more. people play with words, and sometimes when they don't play with, sometimes unintentionally when they play with words, they play with the way that things are played out, or the things are lived out, or reality. I'll say that they'll play with reality. Let me give you an example. Further than right and wrong, there's a difference between doing what's right and what's good, right? Something that might be good for you or good to you may not be overall the right thing, which is why I think it's so important that we always try to encompass some kind of spiritual morality and foundation. We're going to get deeper into this. So let's go back to the Bible and discretion, because as you guys can see where I'm going, taking the high road is about living and making decisions and reacting in ways that are righteous and full of integrity. And before I go back to the scripture, like, I think it's important that we understand that we are all, as humans, product of our environment and the stimuli around us. So we're a product of what we watch, what we see, what we're bombarded with, whether or not we take it in intentionally or it's just like a byproduct, right? It's all like noise that's constantly bombarding us. And what I understand, and I'm guilty as well, is that when you live in a world where, I don't know, if somebody cuts you off, it's more acceptable, especially here in American culture, right? It's more acceptable to maybe honk your horn or flip them a bird than to let them get in front of you. Like, it's easily accepted that you honk your horn or flip somebody off or yell something to them if they cut you off. That's highly acceptable. If you let somebody, as a matter of fact, let me take it a step further. Think about those times you've been in traffic and you sitting behind the person who lets the person in. They're all kind, like, oh, come on, buddy. You get mad at them for doing something that's actually a kind and polite thing to do. Now, the thing that I don't realize is that we're bombarded by this so often, whether it be social media, TV, what we watch, what we listen to, that it kind of blurs the lines between what's right and what's socially acceptable. The road less traveled. Ladies and gentlemen, the road less traveled is what most would call the high road. And I was already going to speak about this, but y'all already know me. I got more stories from management, and I'm going to tell it in a way where I don't implicate anybody, implicate myself, or pick at anybody, just for context for this story. As a manager, you know, I was in a situation where, and I want to, before I say this, just to be like, I don't think it's cool to mess with nobody's, like, money. I don't think it's cool to mess with anybody's finances. And furthermore, me as a manager, like, humbly, I know I'm very, very fair. Like, I give so many passes. Now, a majority of that is because that's how I am. But the other part of that is because, you know, as humans, how we handle situations and how we handle, you know, taking the high road, we don't always stand firm. So sometimes I know that I have to give more, because if, you know, things take a turn for the worse, or, you know, somebody has to lose their job, they're going to fight. They're going to lie, and they're going to attack your character, right? So long story short, I had a situation where I had to, I'm not even going to give the sex of the person, right? I had to separate with an employee. I work virtually. After I separated with the employee, we deal with chats. This employee came back in the chat and said something that was inappropriate. Furthermore, this former employee said some things to my boss about my character that was just complete BS. Like, you know, anybody who knows me knows, like, I don't, and I've been guilty of this in the past, but it's just like, you're not going to know if I'm rich or if I'm balling or anything. You're not going to really know how much money I got. You're not going to know my financial situation. You rarely going to know what I have planned when it comes to marketing, the success of the podcast, the success of the music, or anything until it's a done data. So that being said, like, for somebody to go out and be like, yo, this dude's bragging, or, you know, long story short, this former employee was like, yo, this is what happens when you put black people in a position of power. Right? Now, without getting into too much detail, just the fact that somebody would try to assassinate your character when you're a leader in front of the people that you're leading, the world is going to tell you immediately you need to rebuttal, put that person in their place, say something rude back to them, or even tell the truth if it exposes this person. But the righteous thing to do, not of this world, but the righteous thing to do of the upside down kingdom that Jesus talks about in the Bible is to ignore that and let it go and not let it bother you and not retaliate, which is what I did. And I'm trying to get really quick on and off of this topic. I'm just using it for an example, but I had people who are my, I don't like to call them employees, but just on my team, right? Who is just like, yo, I would have said this, or I can't believe that person did that, or you're better than me. And I hear that often. And I appreciate it humbly, but the thing is, am I better than you? Is it so outrageous that I didn't go off and I just continue to show grace or forgiving or let things slide? And back to scripture, that's the upside down kingdom. Because if we're living in a world where everyone tells you that, hey, you're justified in certain situations to act certain ways, even though it may not be righteous, even though it might not be what is considered spiritually right and wrong, right? It's going to be justified because we've come to a point in history where just like reacting in like less than kind ways has become the norm, right? So, spiritual discretion, which is judging, by the way. You can play with it however you want. Spiritual discretion is the ability to judge spiritually, to judge what's right, not what's good, but what is right. Now, the Greek word for discretion, y'all know me, I'm actually learning a new language as I'm getting into these Hebrew and Greek words, is diakrasis. Diakrasis sounds very Latinish, but it's Greek. Now, regardless of your spiritual belief, how you look at things that are right and wrong, how you judge things, good and evil or whatnot, we all have something in our mind. Very few people don't have it. And when people don't have what I'm about to speak on, they may call them monsters, or unfortunately, a lot of them are locked up and on death row and things of that. And it's a conscience. Call it whatever you want. The little voice in your head, the Holy Spirit, your Jiminy Cricket, your conscience, whatever you want to call it. And what we don't realize is that a lot of times when we handle things in a way that may be good, which is synonymous with selfishness, because when we deal with things that are good, we're only looking at it from our point of view, as opposed to right. You ever get that feeling of regret? Of resentment? Well, not resenting of the person, but resenting something that you did, or knowing that you handled something in less of a righteous way. Or how often have you gotten upset at something? I know I'm guilty of this, and this is I'm going to give you guys 3 good ways to make sure that you're always taking the high road, the righteous way, filled with integrity. But for me, the reason I'm so aware of it is because I know with me, my anger is a slippery slope. Surprise, like a lot of people now who know me now, they would tell you like to see me get upset or really angry is so rare. But it happens a lot. I just don't express it on the outside. But the reason I'm able to check it is because me particularly, I'm very, very lion-hearted. So like somebody could slap me, and I'm just using this as context. Somebody could slap me, and when I go to do the tombstone pile driver on their head, which is probably right if I'm defending myself or something, I still be feeling bad for those situations. So I always, when it comes to leadership or management or mentorship, I always tell people, man, it's about the ability to be able to get a solid night's sleep. All right. So, this is not going to be a super long episode because there's not a bunch to talk about. We know when we do something selfish deep down, if you have any type of moral compass, We know when we maybe got over on that person and made a little bit more money than we should have. Or when we overcharged a friend. Or when we gave a friend or somebody we were doing a favor for less than good work or diligent work. We know. And if you want to stop having those regrets, which oftentimes lead to blown opportunities because we're so short-sightedness, we don't see how just, making a bad impression on that $500 business deal completely X's you out for that 10-year down the line $1 million business deal. Because, and all of this is so crazy because I could tie it all into God. Like, if you can't do a lot with a little, why do you need more? And that's what it's really about. Notice when I said the difference between doing what's good and what's right, I have yet to really tell you guys what justifies what's good. Well, I have, but not directly. And that's not doing things our way. This is what I believe. I believe it's doing things the big guy's way, God's way. And even if you look at the Bible, religious or not, a lot of the things that he says is so far away from the society that we have now created with our history and the way that we treat each other that it sounds ridiculous. 7 times 70. How many times should I let my friend or a person slap me? 7 times? Jesus, how many times? 7 times 70. That's a big number. Turning the cheek. If your neighbor or if somebody robs you of your coat, I say, give them your shirt too. Or he might say, if they rob you of the shirt, give them your coat too. It sounds ludicrous. But the ability to sleep at night and know that you've lived in a way and done things that's acceptable to a higher power who has, and that's the bigger thing. We don't forgive people for because we forgive them. We don't treat people well or take the high road or ignore insults because of us or our ability and understanding too. We ain't gonna be able to understand it, especially if we've been done wrong. We don't continue to offer grace and forgiveness and pray for people and don't kick people when they're down on our accord, on our behalf. It's not for us. It's because we are forgiven. It's because we're offered love. It's because we willfully sin and we willfully disobey each and every day. And I'm pretty sure very few of us, if you're listening to this podcast, truly go hungry to like where you starve and your ribs are touching or you're malnutritious. You might get a little hunger and like, man, I didn't get a full meal today, or I might only have a couple of dollars and but you're not about to pass out from malnutrition. If you have any time, and the majority of my listeners, especially and the people I speak with, if you just ask them straight up and put them on the spot, yo, you got any type of spiritual belief? They're going to say yes. If you do, you need to understand that taking the high road starts with diocracies, spiritual discretion, and understanding that the forgiveness, the graces, the passes that we give people is not for us, has nothing to do with us and our thoughts. Which is why following Jesus is kind of the easiest thing, because you could default to something beyond your responsibility and your understanding. It's because he offered it to us, man. And it's hard. Taking the high road, especially if you want to consistently take the high road, it sucks. It's hard because your ego is going to take a hit. Your pride is going to take, the things of this world are all going to take a hit. Your ego, your pride, your self-esteem. All that sort of stuff that is really entitlement, you, it's going to take a hit time and time again. But I'm going to give you 3 tips, 3 things to help you. I told you this show going to be to the point because it's not really no way around it, man. The high road is often you being humble, you being quote unquote, according to this world, insulted or belittled, or you're ego driven, or somebody cuss you out in public for no reason, and you just got to let it pass. I'm going to give you 3 things to make sure that you could consistently take the road less traveled. You can consistently go through the gate that is narrow and leads to life that only a few will find. This is how you take the road less traveled. Number 1, you got to calibrate your GPS. We traveling, right? You going somewhere. You got to know where you're going. which is number 2. But before that, you got to make sure your GPS is calibrated. You ever notice how, if you got a smartphone and you got your GPS, you use it for the very first time, it's like, yo, swing it around in this little figure 8. And you're like, the hell is this going on? But yeah, when you make a left turn and you need that joint to point you left so you know that you're actually going left, you must calibrate your GPS. And when we're talking about the road less traveled, you have to make sure that your principles, your foundations, your morals, and your understanding for who the glory is given and why you're doing what you're doing is solid. Because if not, we're in a world where if you're not calibrated with your GPS, you're going to be walking south the whole time and think you're going north. Like, imagine thinking that you're going somewhere to a destination only to find out that your morals and your values is wrong and you've been going the wrong way. You don't want to spend your whole life for 30 or 40 years doing that just to double back. Take the time to make sure that your morals, your principles, and your foundations are properly set and calibrated, man. You already know who I'm going to say you should calibrate it after. But if you're a person who just wants on the basis level to talk about good and evil, notice I didn't say right or wrong, good and evil, you got to make sure that you lean on something or you have some principles and some integrity and some morals that are outside of this world. Because we've already talked about the world and how it's so polluted, we can't even really see where we're going. Think about how we react to just the smallest thing, somebody bumping into you. Why don't you say, excuse me? The world will tell you that's what you need to do. And I'm guilty as well, but it's not how Jesus goes about it. He said, if they try to take your shirt, give them your coat. You better make sure that your GPS is calibrated so when you start to travel this road, you could be sure you're going the right way, regardless of the distractions. All right. Number 2, you got to know where you're going. Where are you going? If you're just out wandering aimlessly, you'll do just that. Waste time, energy, and effort, which we have been talking about this whole season, and end up nowhere. And nothing is more disheartening than walking or traveling with purpose or moving about life in purpose, just to realize that the way you've been going about it has gotten you nowhere. You better know where you're going. Because if you don't know how you're going, you're not going to know how to get there the quickest and the easiest way. There's always multiple ways to get there. And I always say this, when it comes to our life, if you have a spiritual foundation where you're trusting in God and having faith, bro, God is going to tell you how to get there. But he will darn sure let you go off and make a wrong left, make you make a wrong right. You can get straight there by being obedient, right? Or you could take the very long and hard way. It's up to you how quick you want to step into what he's provided for us and things that allow you to sleep at night in righteousness. I don't care about somebody cursing me out of anger when I know that I walk in integrity and morals and that I try to do things in a way that's not acceptable to me, but to him. You have to know where you're going. Yeah, we about to wrap it up. Jeez Louise, Mom, but I know where you about to go outside. Phew. Number 3, goodness. Make sure that you have the proper provisions to last you on this trip. When you're taking the high road or the road less traveled, you got to make sure that you're prepared and you have your proper provisions. Now, even with the Lord's Prayer, we thank God for his provisions when we say, give us this day our daily bread. That's pretty much asking God for our provisions in order to get us there. But let's take it on the caveman level, man. If you're going on a trip and you have never been there before and, of course, you're trying to take the most direct and shortest way, but you might get sidetracked. If you don't have no gas, man, that long trip just got a lot longer, a lot more tedious, and you just, probably shorten your likelihood of completing the trip. Make sure that you have the proper provisions. Now, when it comes to a moral standpoint or judging or discretion or being able to get over things quickly, man, it's so many provisions that God makes available to you, whether it be the suit of armor, which we've talked about previously, arming yourself properly, suit yourself in our last episode or previous episode. You have to make sure you have the proper provisions. For me, I always talk about it before I even go to look at, text messages or business emails or any type of offer from people. Man, I got to say a couple of prayers. I got to make sure that I'm aligned with God. I got to make sure, just even for me, that my attitude is right. You got to have a open and accepting heart in certain situations. You got to have a softer heart. You got to make sure that that flat tire doesn't make you have the wrong attitude for something totally unrelated and blow another situation or opportunity for yourself. Make sure you have the proper provisions, man. And whether that be arming yourself with the vision of your end goal or how you're going to get there, or arming yourself with the ideology that nothing's going to distract you, whether it be another person's attitude or something that someone says or does, arm yourself with the proper provisions. You go out here all willy-nilly, unprepared, you're gonna get smoked. These 3 things will help you to be special. Help you get to your destination quicker, because the road less traveled is not very crowded. It's not very crowded up there. Most people don't even know, and they won't even find it. But if you go into it with a properly calibrated GPS, knowing what your destination is and making sure that you're prepared and have all the provisions for your trip, my friend, you will begin to travel on this road. You will begin to sleep with a clearer conscience. You'll be able to live with more integrity. You will become less bothered by things that are not centered around your end goal. And you'll have more peace when it comes to dealing with tougher situations or tougher people. And ladies and gentlemen, that will get you on this road less traveled, the high road. That's what it's about, the high road, all right? I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Short episode this week, episode 406, the road less traveled. Man, maybe you feel like you're on a crowded road, and with all the distractions and noise and things that's going on, you can't focus. You don't even know where you're going, or you look up and your plan has failed and you just feel lost. I truly believe that sometimes, man, all we need is motivation, or to feel like, and really it should be a spiritual foundation, but on the human, right? We still have things of the flesh. Sometimes you just need somebody to support you and tell you they believe in you. If you rocking with me, you already know I'm rocking with y'all. Medicine Ball is your family. I believe in you. Keep your head up. Push forward. I'm telling you, man, your wildest dreams are on the other side of your adversity. All right? Until next week, this has been the Medicine Ball Podcast, episode 406, The Road Less Traveled. Y'all stay up. I love y'all. Go follow, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. I love y'all. Y'all stay up. Yeah.